What up, motherfuckers? It's your boy, the hater, up in this piece. And this week, once again, AEW Dynamite gets relegated to Saturday nights because more important shit is going down on Wednesdays. It's as simple as that. AEW will get the time slot they're told they're going to get, and that's it. They're lucky to even get that. Compare and contrast this with one episode of Raw one year where Raw had to be moved to a different day or like a different time, or something was canceled as a result of the NBA playoffs going into Game 7, right? Basically, the story was that the Denver Nuggets were not expected to go as far as they did, right? And because Raw, it wasn't Raw, it was like the arena had to be moved because the Denver Nuggets needed to play a playoff game. And because nobody had faith in the Denver Nuggets, including the owner of the arena, who I think also owned the Nuggets, they had to reschedule their arena to support the playoff game because nobody, quite frankly, thought they would make it to 7 games, right? So Vince McMahon came out that episode of Raw and pretty much mocked the owner, being like, what the fuck kind of shit is this, right? You move me because your stupid team, you have no faith in your team. Vince McMahon came out and buried this other billionaire, right? Just for having the nerve to move Vince McMahon to another arena, you know, as a consequence of the playoffs. Whereas AEW just takes it, and they're lucky to even have a say in even being on TV. So, without further ado, let's talk about the difference between AEW and WWE some more by looking at the matches, right? We've established right now that Vince McMahon is 20 times the man that every one of the executive VPs and Tony Khan and Tony Khan's father and everyone involved here is. Vince McMahon is the type of dude that will come at you, emasculate you completely, ruin your life, and then leave while doing the Vince McMahon walk or maybe even the Vince McMahon dance like he did to Mankind that one time, motherfucks. So, first up, we have Daniel Bryan versus Goldust up in this piece in World Title Eliminator Tournament. Nothing to say here. Obviously, Daniel Bryan's going to win. Goldust is a jobber. But Goldust is also a legend. So it was cool to see this in many ways because finally, Goldust is having like a competitive match with someone that's considered an A-list wrestler, at least in AEW. You know what I mean? The finish was a little bit underwhelming with Bryan Danielson putting a guillotine on him and just him tapping out, or passing out, I should say. The fact that he didn't tap was cool. The guillotine is like a move that Daniel Bryan does, but not really a finisher. So it was pretty weird to see Goldust just go out like that. I didn't expect it, but that's what made it good, you know? It's good when matches end in an unexpected fashion versus having like 19, or 25 false finishes. Next up, we have Penelope Ford in round 1 of the TBS Championship, which is going to be the women's mid-card title. Say what you want, but the fact that there's a women's mid-card title is a good thing. I'll tell you why, motherfuckers. It's a good thing. Very simply because it's never been done before, as far as I know, right? So that's a big deal, you know? In WWE, even the NXT Women's title is seen as parallel to the SmackDown and Raw. The Raw and SmackDown are completely equal because they just traded them. They just traded the titles, right? So there you have it. That's pretty cool. I like that idea, right? Where you have like a main women's champion and you have a mid-card women's champion, right? Next up, you can have the women's tag team titles. It's good. It is a groundbreaking thing. However, the fucking match was a groundbreaking exhibition of jobberism. Nobody cares about Ruby Soho, and it's evident that for the time being, they're not doing shit with Penelope Ford. Ruby Soho should become the TBS champion just because, like, they seem to be hot on her. I don't know why. These girls are boring. This girl will never make it. Penelope Ford had a chance, but, after her Kip Sabian thing, she's going nowhere. Next up, we had Bobby Fish versus Anthony Green. I continue to enjoy seeing Bobby Fish just appear and wrestle and sometimes win. It's good to see this guy. He was the 4th guy on fucking Undisputed Era, and in my opinion, he's probably the best one in many, many ways. Like, first of all, he looks like a man. He doesn't look like a boy. He looks like he could beat the shit out of Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole and even Roderick Strong. So it's good to see him. But he was wrestling a jobber here. He beat the shit out of the jobber. His new finishing move is just like the buzzsaw kick that Tajiri used to do. I think he calls it the last rites. He did a little Devon like cross sign, just to say like gave him the last rites. I thought it was a nice touch. After the match, CM Punk comes out. This is the next feud. Who gives a fuck? I mean, obviously CM Punk is gonna win and continue his dominance of jobbers. All CM Punk is doing is coming out and ruining any momentum that anyone has that's not a star. I understand they don't want CM Punk to go and destroy Kenny Omega, right? But it's almost more detrimental if he goes and beats up these guys that are supposed to have like futures in this company, you know? It helps CM Punk not at all, and it just ruins young people. CM Punk is already a big star. I understand they're dropped the ball with him completely, but that doesn't justify anything. Next up, we have Lance Archer versus Eddie Cuxton. Eddie Cuxton wins with a roll-up. Nobody cared. Lance Archer may as well be released. You know what I'm saying? My prophecy of Lance Archer being in a tag team with Malachi Black is coming more and more to fruition every day, with both of these guys starting to lose. Eddie Kingston will never amount to anything, let's be honest. You know, he's never going to win this tournament, and he's never going to be champion, most likely. So there you have it. During the match, they showed Tony Nese watching. Like, Tony Nese, like, compared to Lance Archer, Tony Nese is like a jobber. I mean, he's tiny, you know what I mean? Tony Nese, I've always liked Tony Nese. Like, you know, for what he was, he's pretty good. But he's not the same size, he's not the same caliber as Lance Archer, or honestly, even Eddie Kingston, in terms of, like, size. It's ridiculous. He should be out there feuding with, like, Pac and with, like, Dante Martin, you know? Not with these big guys. But it is what it is. I'd like to see Tony Nese do something, you know? Especially in this very, very congested roster where nobody's going to have any opportunities. Thus far, every match has been predictable as a motherfuck. You know what I'm saying? What have we seen so far, motherfucks? Obviously, Bryan Danielson's going to win. Obviously, Ruby Soho's going to win. Obviously, Bobby Fish is going to beat the nobody, right? Lance Archer versus Eddie Kingston is not predictable, right? But it doesn't matter because the tournament is predictable. Neither of these guys is going to win. So is this a throwaway matchup anyways? So that's 4 out of 4. Next up, to complete the pentagon, if you will, Jungle Boy versus Brandon Cutler. Jungle Boy obviously beats the shit out of Brandon Cutler. This means fucking nothing. You know what I'm saying? Nobody cares about this at all, right? Adam Cole comes out. Who cares? They already had their match. It meant nothing then. It means nothing now. Finally, this shitty episode is mercifully almost over with Malachi Black versus Cutler Rhodes in the match that everyone with half a brain knew Cutler Rhodes would win. Cody Rhodes had what I call the Spider-Man treatment. If anyone saw Spider-Man, whatever, Homecoming, the one where the new Spider-Man fights the Vulture, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life, the Vulture is probably the good guy. He's the guy that gets screwed by Tony Stark, and basically what happens is he gets screwed, gets labeled a bad guy, gets humiliated by a kid, but not before Spider-Man destroys, like, Ellis Island and, like, the Staten Island Ferry, I think it was. He completely destroyed it, right? And then Tony Stark is like, you're not ready yet. Then afterwards, he destroys the remainder of New York City, and then Tony Stark is like, you're ready now, kid. The same fucking shit happened here, right? Cody Rhodes went through this journey where basically his Iron Man, his Tony Stark, Arn Anderson, told him, you ain't shit yet, you know? You ain't shit anymore. You fucked up. You lost focus. You did all this and that and this, right? Long story short, Cody Rhodes rehabilitates himself by doing fucking nothing. You know what I mean? He didn't really add anything to his repertoire. He just had a few little training sessions and kind of grew into his character a bit. That's what they'd have you believe. But basically, nothing happened here. The only thing of value was Arn Anderson came in and Pac and Andrade came in, right? I don't know exactly what the point of this was, but we got to see an Arn Anderson spine buster on Andrade's assistant, which was a nice touch. Arn Anderson is always fun to do the spine buster with, so that's pretty cool. Pac pretty much stopped Andrade from interfering. Why Andrade is interfering isn't really clear, but it is what it is. I mean, Andrade was friends with Zelina Vega. Malachi Black is married to Zelina Vega. They're like kind of friends, I suppose. So maybe that's why they hinted at it. They're like, oh, these guys go back to WWE or whatever. Who gives a shit, right? Point is, interference failed. The only thing that it did was that it allowed for Andrade for Malachi Black to use his mist, to exhaust his mist on Arn Anderson, I think. I think he hit Arn Anderson with the mist. So now he didn't have the mist in his pocket in order to, like, use that shit on Cutler Rhodes. Now, the problem with that, motherfucks, the problem with that is that nobody gave a shit. We all knew that Cody Rhodes was going to win. Now, the fans also seem to either know this or they're just turning on Cody more and more, right? It was what it was. Cutler Rhodes was being booed out of the building. Every time he'd do a move, people would boo. The match was not completely horrible, I'm not going to lie, you know? Cody Rhodes did the crossroads onto a table from the apron, onto a table on the outside. That was pretty neat. Then eventually, Cutler Rhodes, here's the problem with Cutler Rhodes. He's so far up his own ass, you know what I'm saying? So far up his own ass that he is starting to just completely disrespect his opponents, right? There's a point in this match. So, like, you know how Malachi Black does that springboard moonsault, and oftentimes he does it for no reason and just sits down, right? Once in a while, he hits that sumbitch. So he hit it on Cucky Rhodes, but it's almost as if he missed. Cody Rhodes completely no-sold it. You know, this spot would have been better if he just missed. You know, him hitting it did nothing. It was as if he missed because Cucky Rhodes got up before him, put him in the crossroads, motherfucks, you know, and hit it. And then pinned him, but what's his name, kicked out. Malachi Black kicked out of the crossroads. Eventually, Malachi Black, after a bit more of an exchange, he hits a double foot stomp. Eventually, he hits the Black Mass. He hits the Black Mass, but guess what, motherfuckers? Cucky Rhodes is crawling, and he's like on the ropes. Now, you're allowed to pull someone off the ropes, but he couldn't do it because Malachi Black is just a fat jobber. So he couldn't pull Cucky Rhodes, and the referee's like, all right, now you got to let him go because he's on the ropes. That's a clean break, motherfuckers. But nonetheless, Cucky Rhodes gets up as if nothing happened. This was like one of the most protected finishers in AEW, but Cucky Rhodes no-sold it once again. This one he sold better than the moonsault because he at least went down. You know what I mean? And he was down for a few seconds, and the implications were that because he was by the ropes, that's why he didn't get pinned. But it doesn't matter. He got up almost immediately. You know, this is a move that if it's gonna knock you out, like he does it on someone else, the person gets knocked out, Malachi Black nonchalantly goes over and pins the person with his foot. Right? It took more time to pin other people when he does this move than it did for Cucky Rhodes to recover. You know, he just recovered, gets up, hits the crossroads, hits another he hits one crossroads, then he hits the double underhook pile driver, right? And that's it. Cucky Rhodes wins, people boo, the show ends. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Again, even though the match was not bad, it suffered from the same thing that all of these matches suffered from. And that is, motherfucks, the very, very plain and simple explanation that everybody knew how each one of these matches would end. NXT is having the same problems in many, many ways, right? Now that we know who's who, we know what the characters are, we know who's going to win. You know, the hierarchy is not volatile. It should be, but it isn't, right? In the Attitude Era, for example, it was volatile enough. Like, you know, obviously, that in a match between Stone Cold and Val Venus, Stone Cold's going to win. The Rock is going to destroy The Godfather. D'Lo Brown, motherfuckers. D'Lo Brown is going to get pinned by Triple H. You know that these things are going to happen, right? But when D'Lo Brown wrestles Val Venus, it could go either way. You know, when Stone Cold wrestles The Rock, it could go either way. In AEW, nothing can go either way. And then the new NXT, that's what we're finding out real quick, you know? A bunch of directionless jobbers that are going nowhere. I mean, it doesn't matter. You know, you have Duke Hudson. Guy thinks he's a poker player. Who gives a fuck? It's a shitty gimmick, motherfuckers. It's on the same level as like Karrion Kross. It's the same level of gimmick. It's like a gimmick with no gimmick. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. This is an AEW episode, motherfuckers. And all I gotta say about this is that it was complete garbage. I give this show a D-. This was horrible. Horrible. Nothing was entertaining. Nothing cool happened. And nothing unpredictable happened. Wrestling is built on unpredictability. Motherfucks. So with that being said, go fuck your mothers, and I'll see you guys soon.